Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Om Shri Ram, 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 Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Om Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Hari Om to everybody.
Pranam Swamiji.
Pranam, pranam.
Pranam Swamiji. Pranam.
Pranam, pranam. On Friday, we were making a mention about Gita Jayanti. That was on 2nd. And on 3rd morning, good number of devotees assembled here from the locals. And then we took up the 1st and 2nd chapter. When the idea of observing us the Gita Jayanti day, what Papa prompted us was, instead of reading the whole slogas in one go, why not we split it and try to go within, along with the text to the extent possible. Because none of us are conversant with Sanskrit. We may have some broad ideas about each and some of the slogas. So at the same time, only we will have a sentimental satisfaction, we have chanted it. It doesn't leave any dent, it doesn't encourage us to go deeper into the text. So then it was planned that the 701 slokas spread out in 18 chapters will be split. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months. Every month, first Sunday, we will take up roughly about 100 to 120 slokas. It might be 2 chapters or 3 chapters at best. At best. So in Malayalam it was decided to chant along with the meaning. And we get 1 full month. During that month, before the next month program starts, we should make an effort to go deep into that 100 and odd slokas which we have chanted. Try to link it with our own experience and try to understand it through our own experience. For that we have to do a little more deeper technique. For example, the first 2 chapters are having 119 slokas. First chapter 47 slokas, second chapter 72 slokas. Now this first chapter 47, what do they mean to us? Broadly we know that Arjuna is lamenting, Arjuna came to the war field with the charioteer of Lord Krishna. He was highly enthusiastic. But as soon as he saw the people with whom he has to wage war with, suddenly, the enthusiasm got punctured and then became mentally miserable, dejected, dispirited. Because suddenly, he forgot the ideal for which the war is fought. He suddenly saw them only as his relations, as his teachers, as elderly men, who are all respectable people, no doubt. But in the absence of the ideal, in the absence of the dharma, they became merely attachments, bondages. So we start thinking about it, What had happened in Kurukshetra, we try to relate it to our own life experience. So whenever we feel our enthusiasm, our efficiency, our contentment, our sense of fullness gets punctured, it can only be due to our attachment, our bondages, which has been beautifully portrayed by Vyasa. That means before he was taken to the war front, there was no problem. He was full of enthusiasm. But when he went to the war front, when he asked the Lord to take him, Senayor Vayor Madhye Stapitam, you take me to the war front and place the chariot in between the 2 warring sections. Then he was looking at the people with whom he has to. Prior to that, Sanjaya, the interpreter, says, you all know the background, Sanjaya was sitting in Delhi, Indraprastha. Kurukshetra is far off from there. There the war is going on. And we were told that God has given him a jnana chakshu. Now we know it could be nothing but TV, even a video. But at that time probably it was not interpreted like that. How a person sitting in Delhi can see, give a commentary on what is happening in Kurukshetra, which is far off. But now we know it is possible. So he started commenting. And first he said, Dhritarashtra's words. And Dhritarashtra's words itself is a thought-provoking one. Sanjaya, you tell me what is my children and the children of Pandu, So his attachment to his children, that is why the whole thing, though he is the king, he could have averted the war, but he is also a personification of his attachment to his children, because of which he was not able to make an impartial evaluation and tell them to desist from denying them their share. The first line says, my children, And the second one, from the second it starts, Arjuna, the commentator, starts. He says first he brings Duryodhana into the picture. And Duryodhana, he first approached the teacher Drona and then made them to convince him that they should all protect Bhishma, importance of Bhishma, relevance of Bhishma in their midst. So all those things were over. Then Arjuna, the commentator says, Arjuna told Sri Krishna to take the charioteer in between this, and then he looks around. As soon as he looks around, suddenly he forgot about the purpose for which this war is motivated. They were not for a war, but war was thrusted on Pandavas. They know very well that they are not asking for anything which is unrighteous. And if it is unrighteous, God will not side with them. All those things were there. Suddenly, the moment he saw people, his physical structure itself, his mental and physical structure itself became punctured, as it were. And then he was justifying, he was telling that he is not interested in waging a war with them. All these people, though they have done something wrong, though they denied us something wrong, but it is unrighteous on our part to kill our elders, to kill our own kith and kin. Like that, he brings out lot of justifications. We have to analyze this. If we are prompted to take up an in-depth study, it does not concentrate upon Dhritarashtra or Kurukshetra or Arjuna, because we take it that the Kurukshetra is going on in our mind. God is there, Lord is there in the form of indwelling reality. We are there as Arjuna in the form of sense of individuality. And in us there are two sides. The Devi forces and the Asuric forces are there. Initially I am encouraged by the Devic forces, but when I meet with the challenges on the field, I am not in a position to hold on to the Devic forces. And the Asuric forces they have their play, and it influences me, and finally it leads me to depression. So after reading 47 slokas, we close. We try to bring in our mind the same picture. Then we become one with the Gita. Otherwise it will be an academic exercise. It will be a wonderful journey, no doubt about it. So if all of you are interested, we request before the next year on 1st January, so we will be busy from 24, 25 or 20th to 31st. We will be preoccupied with our scheduled program, in-depth study of the fruition of in-depth study of in quest of God, and the culmination of the centenary. So we have Akhand Ram Nam, we have daily special Satsang, forenoon session, afternoon session. So all of us will be totally busy with the scheduled program. So now in the next 3 or 4 days, if possible, we would request or suggest We take the Gita from our Almirah. The other day on second, we remember, Sangarananda Swamiji said, we have taken it, kept it on our table. And we put malas, we do arati, we worship, but we have never tried to drink it. So now we remove all these things and we now try to drink it. So right from the first chapter. And so that it will be an interactive session. We don't want to follow the traditional way of shloka by shloka and meaning and then deliberation. No. How does it get connected to my life? That is important. With that perspective, we go through the slokas. And after the slokas, we pause for a while, try to think about it, link it with our life to the extent possible. Just like in IQG, when at the end of the year, 37 chapters, seemingly small chapters, only 3 or 4 are comparatively longer than, otherwise 2 pages, 3 pages, not more than that. But still, Papa made us to unearth 198 pointers, nearly 200. Just imagine. If that is the case with In Quest of God, what will be the outcome of our in-depth study of Bhagavad Gita? But it will be an enjoyable journey, beneficial journey. We will know more about Bhagavad Gita. Tomorrow when somebody talks about Bhagavad Gita, we will be able to associate with it, not on an academic level, but on a different level, whatever it may be. So we substitute Arjuna to ourselves. We substitute Krishna to the indwelling reality. Kaurava forces are the Asuric forces. Pandava forces are the Daivic forces. And then we are in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, our day-to-day life field. The field in morning, right from morning during our waking state, that is our Kurukshetra. So how do we deal? So if we have some clear-cut idea, then probably there will be an efficiency in dealing with men and matters, with the so-called challenges, duties, problems, which otherwise our mind was, complaining, grumbling, finding fault with individuals, objects, situations. But there will be an effort will be made to slightly change. This is what we could unearth in Quest of God. Please remember that. That was also a journey from stress to serenity. This is also a journey from Vishada Yoga to Moksha Prapti. So there is a parallel between these two. 37 slokas, here 18 chapters. 37 chapters, here 18 chapters. 18 into 2, 36. No? There are so many parallels. We try to understand this. There are also, whenever an individual is obsessed by attachment, in his own case, how he previously identified himself with the mundane problems and how he was able to recede himself from those problems, look at it as a witness without getting himself involved. And that ultimately led him to surrender totally at his feet and to take a deep plunge on 27th. So the Asuric forces and the Daivic forces. So if we are in a position to understand Bhagavad Gita on these lines, on this connection we would like to share also Papa's words on Bhagavad Gita. Especially its conclusion, he says, synopsis. A brief and concise summary of the whole Gita will now be presented to the readers. At the start, the Lord awakens the ignorant soul to the existence of the root evil, which has brought about his bondage and utter oblivion of his divine and immortal nature. In every one of us, there is he that we have forgotten. No? And we think about all the negative down-pulling tendencies. At the start, the Lord awakens the ignorant soul to the existence of the root evil, which has brought about his bondage and the utter oblivion of his divine and immortal nature. This root evil, moha or attachment, which has sprung from the seed called desire, the primal cause of ignorance. The eradication of desire and the moha means liberation. Liberation consists in the identity of soul with the immortal Atman. This deathless state is realized only when the mind of man, through a burning aspiration for freedom, is withdrawn from its association with the perishable body and the objects of the senses and is directed through concentration towards the central truth of his being, God. The soul has to pass through various sadhanas or spiritual practices before he can unveil the glory and magnificence of the Atman dwelling within. In fact, ignorance consists in the forgetfulness of the soul of his eternal and infinite nature. So all sadhanas are for keeping up a ceaseless remembrance of the great truth, T capital, God, which the soul has forgotten and which he is in reality. Ceaseless remembrance brings on a divine consciousness in which the soul discovers himself to be the all-pervading, eternal, changeless truth. In this attainment, the soul rises beyond the notion of the body and enjoys the bliss of immortality by rising superior to the gunas of Prakriti and the Dandvas born therefrom. So sadhana is to raise ourselves from the present level to a higher level. And that alone will enable us to see the attachment as attachment, the bondage as bondage. Otherwise, though we are in the bondage, we will not be even aware that we are bounded. Kindly think about it, no? Only when we rise ourselves to a higher level, we will be able to know, this is what I have been suffering from. So this is what Papa here clearly says. In this attainment, the soul rises beyond the notion of the body and enjoys the bliss of immortality by rising superior to the gunas of Prakriti and the Dandvas born therefrom. The liberated soul, freed through the realization of Atman, which is only one aspect of the Lord, still strives to know and merge in the Supreme Godhead in all its aspects and existences. Here starts the path of utter self-dedication, leading the awakened soul to a vision and status which baffles description. He now beholds the entire universe as all beings, creatures, and things in it as the very expression and revealment of the invisible, infinite, immutable, eternal, unthinkable, transcendent, supreme reality. He experiences not only the unchanging calmness and peace of his oneness with God in the universe and beyond, but also the bliss of the pure, intimate, loving communion with him in the visible universe and all activities in it. From the 10th chapter onwards, when you see through this perspective, Papa's words will become clearer and clearer to us. So it is made clear at the end of the Gita that the highest acme of God realization is to be a perfect devotee of the Lord, a veritable embodiment of divine knowledge, divine action, divine love. Such a devotee is the very form and expression of God, or God himself in human form. Sri Krishna, the Purushottama, has revealed himself in his heart and has absorbed him into his ineffable, extremely wonderful being. This is the goal, and Gita Sandesh is to take the soul to this goal. In a capsule form, Papa has given to us. Those of you who have Gita Sandesh may kindly first go through the introduction and the conclusion so that it gives us a picture. This conclusion we read it first because with this background. So final attainment is also portrayed here. At the same time, the present condition is also portrayed. When we take to our educational career, though in the initial stages we may confine ourselves to thinking about the class, the exam, then the next class. As we go higher and higher, we slowly developing concepts about what I want to become. I want to become a doctor, I want to become a lawyer, I want to become a scientist, I want to become an agriculturist, I want to become an industrialist, something like that. So this goal is kept. I may change it, I may not find myself fit for it, so many things will be there. But we slowly form a concept. Depending upon the patience and perseverance, depending upon our sincere efforts, we move toward the concept which God has given us to achieve. Same thing. Initially we try to dwell on the stage, Kurukshetra, Lord Krishna, Arjuna, Duryodhana, this and that. But as we move from the first to the second chapter, the whole thing changes. So a synopsis of how do we move about? First we forgot about the Prarthana Shloka. Even if we forget everything, one shloka you might be remembering, Sarvo Upanishado Gao. Upanishads are the cow. Milkman is Lord Krishna. If the milk has to come into udder, naturally a calf should be there, no? Calf indirectly motivates the cow to bring the milk to its udder. Arjuna here is the calf. And the milk is this Amritam, contents of the essence of all Upanishads. That is why this itself is also called an Upanishad. Bhagavad Gita Su, Upanishadsu, Brahma Vidyayam, like that. Every chapter we repeat to ourselves that this is the quintessence of Upanishads. And then who are the people to take this milk? We have not been taking the milk, we have kept it in the almara, no? Why? Because only, he says, Vidwan, men of wisdom, men of probing nature, aspirants, devotees. It's a wonderful sloga. We forgot to make a mention about it. Oh, it's not mentioned here. No, there's an error. So, Sarvopanishato Gavo. Upanishad are the Gokal. Dokta Gopalanandanaha, he is the milkman. Partho Vassa, coffee is Partha. Upabhokta, that means, who is taking it? Sudhir Bhokta. Telinya Buddhyulavan, who has got clear cut. And what is this? The milk is what is that? It is the Gita Amritam. This particular sloga, if we remember well, all the slogas we may forget. But this particular sloga, if we concentrate, this is how we take a study. Then later on we will go through, we will be able to enjoy the rest of the slogas. Sarvopanishato Gavo, Tokta Gopalanandana, Partho Vatsa Sudhir Bhokta, Tuktam Gidamrutam Mahatu. So then, are we entitled to take this Gitamrutam? So, indirectly the Vyasa says, what should be? We should raise ourselves, otherwise we will not be able to enjoy. If only we come to know that it is the essence of all Upanishads. If only we come to know that it is Lord Krishna who is the milkman. If only we come to know that it is Partha who is the calf. If only we come to know that this Gita is the Amritam, nectar, then we can say we are eligible, we are the fit ones to enjoy this. Otherwise, you will be just seeing it, as Ranganathan Swamiji put it bluntly. We keep it there, we put flowers, we respect, but we don't go near it and try to take it. So, the first Prarthana sloga, kindly, all slogas may be inspiring, but this particular sloga we would say it lays the foundation. Sarvopanishato Gavo Tokta Gopalanandana Partho Vassa Sudhir Bhokta Duktam Gidamrutam Ahat. And one more sloka is Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Lengayede Girim Yatkripatamaham Vande. What is the tangible gain, He makes the dumb to talk, means what? The impossible becomes possible. The unattainable becomes the attainable. If we take this Amritam, it's also a hint Vyasa gives to us. With this background, we step into the first chapter. So, first sloka, Dhritarashtra is asking us, Sanjay, and 2 to 20, Arjuna's narration, starting with Duryodhana to Drona, and how he gives the emphasis to protect Bhishma, and about the persons in the warfield. He starts listing, and then, enthused by it, they give a call through the conch, Shankadhvani. From 21 to 23, Arjuna is asking Krishna to place his chariot to see all. And 24 to 27 again, Sanjay, he portrays the the body language of Arjuna. As soon as he starts seeing what happened to his personality, trembling, becoming dry, totally emaciated. When you puncture the tube, what happens, suddenly? Like that, the whole enthusiasm, morale, everything got punctured. And Sanjaya beautifully describes this. And then 28 to 46, that is 18 slogas, 18 or 19 slogas, Arjuna is justifying why he should not fight. He is parading before, one by one before Lord Krishna, that why he is justified in withdrawing himself from the war field. And in 47, Sanjaya concludes the depressed state of Arjuna. Arjuna sat, leaving the Gandivam, I am not going to fight. And second chapter. First Sanjaya introduces, and then 2 and 3. Having known this, how Krishna tell him, what are you talking? This is unbecoming. This does not at all befitting to your capacity, befitting to your nature, befitting to your status, befitting to your role. And again Krishna justifies by 4 to 8, 5 stanzas. And Sanjaya intervened then. Then 10 to 53, 43, 44 slogas. The philosophy starts. Attachment to the body, how to raise ourselves from the body, what are the roadblocks. Elaborately he explains. And motivating Arjuna to get himself freed from this dispiritedness. Just as the tube, when it gets punctured, immediately the puncture is set off and then you inflate it with the air. He started inflating it with enthusiasm, cheerful. So 43, that means 44 slogas. And finally he portrays the picture of a person who always maintained this samachittada, equanimity. So from here, as devotees, we understand that one of the most essential thing to tackle the problems of everyday life is to somehow develop equanimity. Samatvam yogamuchyate. Along with the transient nature of the body, transient nature of the outside world, and the ephemeral and the eternal truth, and finally he tries to portray a person who has studied well how he attains to the state of equanimity. Then Arjuna asks, by the time Arjuna's morale is slowly gets boosted, and 54 he asks, after these 43 slogas, he asks, what is the nature? Kindly tell me, how will he look like? How will he talk? How will he sit? How will he move around? And in the next 18 slokas, he portrays the picture of the man of steady wisdom. That is how the second chapter ends. So when we take to in-depth study, first we go through the text, partition it, how many slogas deal with what, and then after the chapter is over, we pause for a moment and bring ourselves into the field, stitch those things in our life and start watching. And at the end of the chapter we will find that the first and foremost thing which is necessary for a spiritual journey, for a spiritual being, is to somehow try to attain or maintain this equanimity, the equal vision in every circumstances. How can it be achieved? It can be achieved only by attributing everything to Him. It can be done only by raising ourselves from our present level to a higher level. It can be realized only by knowing the transient nature of our assumed personality, which we think that is eternal, that is final. The relationship it has maintained is the final one. The biased views and the attachments, everything relates to this, that we feel that is the real one. And to get over all these things is to rise above from that level and watch it, evaluate. So that is how we end the second chapter. This is how the in-depth study can be made or can be actualized. Otherwise it will become another exercise, that's all. Is that becoming clear to everybody?
Yes, Swamiji.
So we try 119 slokas, we split first. How can we split? Only by going through the slokas, the meaning. So we try to categorize in our own mind. These slokas relate to that, these slokas relate to this, these slokas relate to that, and then stitch it with our life. Pause for a moment and stitch it with our life, and then proceed. Again think about it. Especially the times when we get totally dejected, depressed, discouraged, disappointed. We find there is no answer for our problem. Something like that. All these things will come to us. And what did we do? Especially people who are leading the evenings of our life will be able to understand it better because they have gone through all these things.
Swamiji, one doubt I should clarify, please help me. Because in the first chapter, there is a description of the war scene. The relatives are there. So how do I relate that to my spiritual life?
Yeah, spiritual life. God has given us this human birth and He gave us this field, the world. Nobody need to tell us that we were always happy. Expectations are something, reality is something, and the gap between the expectation and the reality causes restlessness, all the negative tendencies, stressfulness. So this is the field. Kurukshetra is the war field is this world. God has pushed us here to stand for righteousness. All the negative tendencies, that's why we said, Kaurava forces are symbolically, you can say, as the Asuric forces, the down-pulling tendencies in us, which in the 16th chapter he will clearly bring it out. And the Devi Sampath also in 16th chapter beautifully he brings out. So not that we are only having the Asuri Sampath. This world is full, a mixture of all these things. And what is inside me is being reflected on others. The same position does not disturb me or discourage me when I view it with a different perspective. So what is to be done is a change of perspective from my angle. God has given me a human birth, God has given me a field to experiment. That is this world, ever-changing world. But when He gave us a human birth, the human birth has got two sides, Devi Sampat and Asuri Sampat. We have to recognize the Devi. We have to recognize the Devi Sampat, win over the Asuri Sampat. That is the quintessence of Bhagavad Gita.
Just like a swan.
Just like a swan.
Swan. Water and yeah, that is right. You think about it, can be interpreted in any way. This is one way of interpretation. There could be so many ways of interpretation.
Yes?
Swamiji, 59th sloka of chapter 2, can we take us inside the sloka, Swamiji, more elaborately?
59, second chapter.
But first of all, we should lay the foundation for the... We can do that once. Then we get stuck there, 59th. Vishaya vinivartanti niraharasya dehinaha rasavarjam rasopsasya param drishtva navartate. அப்படி ஒன்றும் மாத்திரம் சொல்லிட்டு காரியம்டா. ஃபஸ்ட்டு எல்லாத்தையும் ஆலோசிக்கணுமா? அதுலேருந்து கிடைக்கும்னு சொல்கிறா? அதுலேருந்து கிடைக்கும்னா ஓகே. Sense objects fall away from the abstinent person, leaving the longing behind. But even that longing ceases when one realizes the Supreme. Before that, what we should know? Suddenly, yada samharade chayam kurumangani va sarvashaha indriyan indriyartebhyah tasya pratna pradishtita. While portraying the picture of a man of steady wisdom, Lord Krishna says, like the tortoise drawing its limbs, one can completely withdraw the senses from the sense objects. His or her wisdom becomes steady. So whenever, that means, I should recede, I should become indifferent. I should insulate myself, not to get influenced by the down-pulling tendencies. Then he says, sense objects fall away. Now the moment a sense object comes, my sense organs crave for it. Think about it. When sense objects are there, when I view it as a sense object, not as a manifestation of God, when I view it as a sense object, my sense organs run after it. So for a person who has attained this, to him, sense objects fall away from the abstinent person. But still, the vasanas may be there, longing. And that longing also ceases when one realizes the Supreme. It won't go easily. We simply close, suppose something is there, which we should not see, we close our eyes. But the mind will start dwelling on it, no?
Yes, sir.
The vasana is still there. So he says, only by identifying, you remember Papa's words? Any thought that arises, when he was crying, that why in spite of so much of surrender on my part, why do you still give me these negative down-pulling tendencies? When he cried, God replied intuitively to him that why do you separate me from the rest? The moment we identify with the so-called labeled negative tendency, it, according to Papa, the word, if you remember the right word, it changes its faces. So here also he says, but even that longing ceases when one realizes the Supreme. Every word is full of meaning. We can study the human being from the surface, but that won't account for his or her activities, successes, failures. If we can go deep into the human system and find out and discover what forces are acting there, then we can establish a more stable personality. Just like in modern Western history, so many things. But in a the true depth study of human mind was thoroughly undertaken over 4,000 years ago. Anyway, Exposition of the human life and destiny of the Gita is entirely based on the science of human possibilities. Human possibilities of the Upanishads. In the Gita, the depth knowledge of the human psyche is taken to the highest and deepest level. Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehinaha. Dehi, an embodied human being, says to oneself, I shall not eat today. I am observing Ekadashi and observe a fast. But the person is not fully fasting. Craving for food is very strong in the mind. Thus, with respect to every sensory craving, by taking away the sense object from your friend does not make you a self-controlled person.
Till the vasana remains.
The person is described as rasavarjam. Rasam is that craving. It is still there. Can you overcome that craving? Then you are wonderful. That is the great statement in the second line. Param drishtva nivartate. Even the cravings goes away when the Supreme Atman is realized. When God, who is the self of all, is realized, even the craving goes away. Vishaya is a technical term in Sanskrit for sense objects, and Vishayi is the term for the subject, the human being. These two are technical terms in Vedanta. When the cravings go, then only you are fully free. Otherwise, craving can create new situations, new kinds of challenges all the time. The new temptations can come. But when the craving itself is gone, absolutely free you become. This is the highest type of mind where the craving has been completely uprooted.
A man
Through-
of stable mind sees the Supreme.
We have the story in our mythology of God Shiva doing tapas. You get it in poet Kalidasa's Sanskrit classic Kumara Sambhavam, where Parvati is eager to marry Shiva. She comes to Shiva, who was then an ascetic, practicing asceticism, and requests Shiva for permission to serve him. For an ascetic to have a young woman to serve is not a good situation, because it will inflame whatever cravings are there. But Shiva was of a different type. He allowed her, yes, you are free to serve. I have nothing to worry. This subject is put in a beautiful verse by Kalidasa. When Parvati entreated Shiva for permission to serve him, Shiva knew that this may be an obstacle to his spiritual practices. Even though he knew it, he accepted her service. Then comes Kalidasa's own commentary. Those persons alone are dhiras, intelligent and heroic, who are not afraid of these conditions because their minds are not agitated when agitating circumstances prevail. So this truth, even the craving goes away when the Atman is realized. Shiva knows his own Shiva nature, infinite, immortal. As the Samudra Manthan myths tells us, even drinking the poison rising from the churning of the ocean did him no harm at all. And Sri Ramakrishna says in the modern age that every human being has that Shiva nature, and the service of the jivas or human being is worship of Shiva. Kalidasa mentions that Shiva burnt the ashes of the Indian Cupid Kamadeva, after which only the marriage between Shiva and Parvati took place. And after Parvati herself had undergone severe penances. This Shiva's acceptance of her is presented by the poet in another great verse. Shiva said, from now onwards, O blameless one, he talks to Parvati, I am your slave. You have purchased me through your austerity. When Shiva, who has on his head the crescent moon, said this, she overcame all stress and strain caused by the rules of austerity. All strain and pain became recreated anew when they yielded their fruits. Because of the spiritual greatness of both, Kalidasa had said at the beginning of his book, Shiva and Parvati, I salute as the parents of the universe. Jagata Pitarau Vande Parvati Parameshwarau. What a wonderful pedigree humanity has. So they are our parents. What a wonderful pedigree humanity has when the myth says it has such people as parents. This truth is referred to by ancient Vedanta and Sri Ramakrishna in the modern age as the union of, or absolute identity of, Brahman and Shakti, as Shiva and Parvati, the impersonal and the personal. Now this Gita sloka, therefore, is a challenge to everyone. Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehinaha rasavarjam rasopsasya param drashtva nivartate. When the Supreme is realized, even the rasa or secret craving of the embodied being goes away. Nothing can tempt such a person. He or she is a dhira. Nothing can tempt. That is the language of Vedanta. When we struggle, then we struggle like this. We have to be careful about our sensory system. They are very powerful. That is the theme of the next verse. So this is how the 59th, through each shloka, he is trying to give us dosages, And finally he says we will be able to retain the equanimity. Neither we will be carried away by the depressions, nor we will be elated by the elation. Depression and elation both become equal to us. Shivas, Good that this was pointed out. It is something for all of us to remember. Shiva Parvati and Swami Ranganathanji's commentary we read out. Swami Ranganathanji gives us a clue of how to blend these Puranas with our workaday life, Jagata Pitarau Vande Parvati Parameshwarau, the pedigree. Beautiful. So something will be there, when we go deeper into each sloka, especially elaborated by evolved souls. Some point we will get and we will try to go along with it. So again we come back, we try to, these 119 slokas, try to separate, categorize, so that we will not get confused. Suppose our attraction is for Sthita Prajna, we want to know more about Sthita Prajna, we want to know more how to maintain this equanimity, we will concentrate on the 18 slokas. Suppose our preference is for knowing the transient nature of the world, then we will concentrate on the 43 slokas of Krishna in second chapter. Like that, even that 43 can be categorized again. Just like the scientists tried to dissect each and everything to the atom and again further, even now it is going on. Similarly, we try to dissect because we want to have the Amritam. We are not interested in knowing the technical knowledge, having the technical knowledge or the academic knowledge, but we want to have a taste of the Amritam that is kept in each and every slokas. So with that bhava, our methodology could be to split and categorize and concentrate on that which is prompted from within so that we will know something about it. Now we have fairly a good picture of first chapter and second chapter. Now we must enjoy it, At least a portion, not 1% of the Amritam that is kept there, it becomes available to us when we go deeper, like the one which we now read out. Are we clear?
Yes, Swamiji. Very clear, sir.
Yeah. So we will start this Gita also along with it, because that will definitely help us in understanding more about us, more about the indwelling reality, more about the technology or methodology to be used to realize Him. In the next 3-4 days, we will make an attempt to go through this first and second chapter, and then again back to our In Quest of God. Then we will find that there is no disconnect. Probably to make us understand the In Quest of God a little more clearly, he is prompting us to take up this Bhagavad Gita also during this month. And after the December program, this can continue. Every month only, there is a chart. I don't know whether you are able to. You can make your own chart. We have made our chart. Somewhere we have to make a beginning.
Shared chart.
Huh?
Chart is shared in the groups. All of them that.
Not that we should follow it implicitly. Whatever you, all of you are comfortable, you can follow. We thought the first stage is to do that. When the discussion came about this, the first thing that he prompted us was to split this, 18 chapters. And then bring it out. How many slokas are there? Then we made a chart. And when we were about to go, we thought of what is the use of reading again. Then we must have the meaning. A first superficial, no? We would not have gone. But that meaning gave us some idea. Oh, these are all the things that are pointed out in the first and second chapter. Then we go a little more deep. How to go deep? So we split we categorize, split means categorize. Whatever prompting comes to us within, let us not be guided by anybody. And then after the categorization, we concentrate again on the theme and stitch it with our own experience, integrate it with our own life. Then slowly we might be able to derive the fullest benefit. So with this background, we will try for the next 3-4 days. Hari Om. Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram 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 Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Hari Om. Om Shri Ram.
Pranam Swamiji.
Hari Om. Pranam.
Hari Om Swamiji.
Sorry.
Hari Om Swamiji.
Hari Om.